You're sleeping at your parents' house until my ex leaves. Those were the exact words my wife Kate used when I walked through our front door last Tuesday. Not hello, not how was work, just a direct order like I was some teenager who'd missed curfew. The kicker? She said it while standing in our kitchen wearing a silk robe that cost more than most people's car payments, sipping wine from the bottle we'd been saving for our anniversary. My name is Daniel Foster, and I've been married to Kate for 15 years. I'm 39, a home automation consultant who spent 8 years in the Army before transitioning to civilian life. I install smart home systems for wealthy suburbanites who want their houses to think for them. The irony isn't lost on me that I can make any house in Boston smarter than its owner, but I couldn't see my own marriage falling apart. Kate is 37, a PR executive who climbs corporate ladders like they're jungle gyms. She's ambitious, calculating, and apparently believes that 15 years of marriage gives her the right to kick me out of the house I pay for so her ex-boyfriend can visit. The ex-boyfriend in question is Vance Archer, 36, CEO of some tech startup that probably does nothing but burn investor money. He's got that Silicon Valley smugness that makes you want to check your wallet after shaking his hand. Perfectly styled hair, expensive suits, and the kind of confidence that comes from never being punched in the face. Instead of arguing, I grabbed my overnight bag and headed to my truck. Kate probably expected me to sulk at my parents' place like a scolded child. Instead, I drove straight to her sister's apartment. Olivia Monroe, Kate's younger sister, opened the door wearing yoga pants and an oversized sweater. She's 34, works as a freelance graphic designer, and has always lived in Kate's shadow. Where Kate is sharp edges and ambition, Liv is curves and creativity. Dan, what are you doing here? Your sister kicked me out so her ex could visit. Mind if I crash on your couch? Liv's eyebrows shot up. She what now? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I explained the situation while she poured us both coffee. Liv listened with the kind of attention Kate hadn't given me in months. That's messed up, even for Kate, Liv said, curling up in her armchair. You know he's not really her ex, right? What do you mean? They never stopped talking. Even when you two got married, she'd mention him. Always wondered what would have happened if things had worked out differently. Liv studied my face. You really didn't know? I felt something shift in my chest like a gear clicking into place. No, I really didn't. That night, I posted a selfie on social media. Just me and Liv at a local bar, both of us laughing at something on her phone. The caption read, "Sometimes the best company comes from unexpected places." Within an hour, my phone buzzed with a text from Kate. What are you doing with my sister? I didn't respond. Let her wonder. The next morning, I drove past our house to grab some work clothes. Kate's BMW was in the driveway next to a red Tesla I didn't recognize. Through the kitchen window, I could see two figures moving around. Kate was making breakfast for someone, and it wasn't me. I used my key quietly and slipped into my home office. While gathering my laptop and files, I heard voices from the kitchen. Dan's such a pushover, Kate was saying. He'll stay at his parents' place until we're done, then come crawling back like always. You sure about that? Vance's voice was smooth, confident. Guy's military background makes me nervous. Kate laughed. Trust me, I've got him trained. 15 years of marriage teaches you how to handle a man. I stood frozen in my office, laptop bag half packed, trained like a dog. Besides, Kate continued, once my promotion comes through, we won't need to worry about Dan anymore. I'll have enough money to make some changes. What kind of changes? The permanent kind. I finished packing in silence and left through the back door. But before I got in my truck, I did something that would have made my army buddies proud. I popped the hood on Kate's BMW and loosened her battery cables. Not enough to strand her, just enough to cause problems. Then I took a photo of the Tesla's license plate. Time to do some research on Mr. Vance Archer. That evening, Liv cooked dinner while I worked on my laptop at her kitchen table. She kept glancing over my shoulder as I scrolled through social media profiles and business records. Finding anything interesting about Prince Charming? Vance Archer, CEO of Next Gen Solutions, 3 failed startups, 2 bankruptcies, and a pattern of dating women in PR and marketing. I turned the laptop so she could see. Your sister isn't his first rodeo. Liv leaned closer, her perfume mixing with the smell of garlic and herbs from the stove. Look at this woman. She pointed at a photo from 2 years ago. Rebecca Chen, marketing director at some firm in Seattle. Same smile, same pose with Vance at some corporate event. I clicked through more photos. The pattern was clear. Vance targeted successful women in communications, dated them while building his businesses, then moved on when the relationship stopped being useful. Kate has no idea she's being used, I said. Are you going to tell her? I closed the laptop and looked at Liv. She was stirring pasta sauce, but her attention was completely focused on me. When was the last time Kate had looked at me like that? No, I said. I'm going to let her figure it out herself. That's cold, Dan. So is kicking your husband out of his own house. Liv turned off the burner and faced me completely. You know, I always thought Kate was crazy for not appreciating what she had. The air in the kitchen suddenly felt charged. Liv took a step closer. I mean, you're loyal, funny, smart. Another step. And you actually listen when people talk. I stood up from the table. Liv. I'm just saying some women would do anything for a man like you. She was close enough that I could see the gold flecks in her brown eyes. For a moment, I wondered what would happen if I just leaned forward. What would Kate think if she found out her husband was getting comfort from her sister? Then I stepped back. I appreciate the thought, but I'm not ready for that kind of complication. Liv nodded, but I caught the flash of disappointment in her eyes. Rain check? Despite everything, I smiled. We'll see. After dinner, I helped Liv clean up while she told me stories about growing up with Kate. How Kate always got the attention, the praise, the opportunities. How their parents had paid for Kate's college but expected Liv to take out loans. How Kate had stolen Liv's high school boyfriend just to prove she could. She's always been like this, Liv said, drying a wine glass. Takes what she wants and assumes everyone else will just deal with it. Why didn't you ever tell me this stuff before? Would you have believed me? You were so in love with her. Past tense. She was right. I was getting ready for bed on Liv's couch when my phone buzzed with another text from Kate. We need to talk tomorrow. I typed back, about what? About us. About our marriage. What about it? Just come home after work. Vance will be gone by then. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I deleted it without responding. Instead, I opened my photo gallery and selected the selfie of me and Liv from the bar. I posted it to my story with a new caption, Good friends make everything better. Within minutes, Kate was calling. I let it go to voicemail. The message was short. Stop playing games, Dan. Come home. I turned off my phone and tried to sleep, but my mind kept racing. For 15 years, I'd been the reliable husband, the one who fixed things, who compromised, who kept the peace. Kate had gotten comfortable assuming I'd always be there, always be compliant. Time to change the rules of the game. From my spot on Liv's couch, I could see the city lights through her apartment window. Somewhere out there, Kate was probably wondering why her trained husband wasn't responding to commands anymore. She was about to find out that 15 years of marriage had taught me a few things, too. I woke up to the smell of coffee and bacon. Liv was already dressed for work, moving around her kitchen like she'd been up for hours. Morning, sunshine. Sleep okay? Better than I have in months, I said, and realized it was true. She handed me a mug of coffee and a plate of eggs. Your phone's been buzzing all morning. I checked the messages. 12 texts from Kate, ranging from concerned to angry to desperate. The last one, sent at 2 a.m., simply said, Please come home. Trouble in paradise? Liv asked, reading over my shoulder. Something like that. I was halfway through breakfast when my phone rang. Kate's name appeared on the screen. You going to answer it? I swiped to accept the call. Morning, Kate. Dan, thank goodness. I was worried something happened to you. I'm fine. Just having breakfast. Where are you? Does it matter? There was a pause. Of course it matters. You're my husband. Funny how you remember that when it's convenient. Dan, please, can we just talk? I know you're upset about yesterday, but you're blowing this out of proportion. I looked at Liv, who was pretending not to listen while loading her dishwasher. Am I? Yes. Vance is going through a rough patch, and I was just helping an old friend. It doesn't mean anything. Right. An old friend who you never stopped talking to. Another pause. Who told you that? Does it matter who told me? Is it true? Dan, you're being paranoid. Just come home and we'll discuss this like adults. I'll think about it. What do you mean you'll think about it? This is ridiculous. I have to go, Kate. Work calls. I hung up before she could respond. Liv was grinning at me from across the kitchen. That was beautiful. What was? Watching you grow a spine in real time. I spent the morning installing a security system for a client in Beacon Hill. The house was worth more than I'd make in 10 years, owned by a hedge fund manager who wanted cameras in every room except the bathrooms. While I worked, I thought about Kate's phone call. She'd sounded genuinely confused, like she couldn't understand why I wasn't following the script. For 15 years, whenever we fought, I'd been the one to apologize first, to compromise, to smooth things over. She was counting on that pattern continuing. Around noon, I got a text from an unknown number. This is Vance. We should talk. I stared at the message for a full minute. The nerve of this guy was impressive. I typed back, about what? About Kate. About this situation. What situation would that be? Don't play dumb, Dan. I know you're upset, but there's no reason we can't handle this like gentlemen. I almost laughed out loud. Gentlemen. Meet me at Murphy's Pub on Commonwealth at 6, I typed. We'll talk. The rest of the afternoon crawled by. I finished the security installation and drove back to Liv's apartment to shower and change. She was already home, working on her laptop at the kitchen table. How was your day? She asked without looking up. Interesting. I'm meeting Vance tonight. That got her attention? Are you insane? Probably, but I want to hear what he has to say. Dan, this is a bad idea. What if he tries something? I pulled my shirt over my head and caught her staring. She looked away quickly, but not before I noticed the flush in her cheeks. I'm a big boy, Liv. I can handle myself. That's not what I'm worried about. Murphy's Pub was crowded when I arrived at 6. I spotted Vance immediately. He was the only guy wearing a $1,000 suit in a bar that served beer in plastic cups. He'd claimed a corner booth and was nursing what looked like top-shelf whiskey. I ordered a beer and joined him. Dan. He extended his hand. Thanks for coming. I ignored the handshake and sat down. Talk. Vance withdrew his hand smoothly. I think there's been a misunderstanding. Enlighten me. Kate and I have history, sure, but what we have now is purely professional. She's helping me with some PR work for my company. At 7 in the morning? In my kitchen? While wearing a bathrobe? Vance's composure slipped slightly. You were watching the house? It's my house. He took a sip of whiskey, regaining his balance. Look, I get it. You're feeling threatened. But Kate loves you, Dan. She's told me all about your marriage, how solid it is. Has she now? Absolutely. She talks about you all the time. Your military service, your business, how proud she is of you. I leaned back in my chair, studying his face. He was good at this. The concerned expression, the reasonable tone, but there was something predatory in his eyes. So, if Kate loves me so much, why did she kick me out of my own house? She didn't kick you out. She just asked for some space while we worked on this project. Right. The project. Vance leaned forward. Dan, I'm going to be straight with you. Kate is incredibly talented. Her connections, her skills, they could be worth millions to the right person. I'd hate to see that potential wasted. Wasted how? Well, no offense, but you're in home automation. Kate's operating at a much higher level professionally. Sometimes ambitious people need room to grow. The insult was delivered so smoothly I almost missed it. Almost. I finished my beer and stood up. Thanks for the insight, Vance. Where are you going? Home, to my house, where my wife should be waiting for me instead of planning her next career move with her ex-boyfriend. Vance's mask slipped completely. Now wait just a minute. No, you wait. I leaned down so only he could hear me. I know exactly what you are, Vance. I know about Rebecca Chen in Seattle, about the marketing director in Portland, about your pattern of using successful women to build your businesses. The only question is whether Kate figures it out before or after you destroy her career. His face went pale. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? I turned to leave, then stopped. Oh, and Vance, next time you want to meet like gentlemen, try not to insult my intelligence first. It's poor form. I was almost to the door when I heard him call out, She's going to choose me, you know. When it comes down to it, Kate will choose the man who can give her what she really wants. I looked back at him, sitting alone in his expensive suit in a working-class bar. We'll see about that. The drive back to Liv's apartment gave me time to process the conversation. Vance wasn't just sleeping with my wife, he was using her. And from the way he'd talked about her potential, he had bigger plans than just a fling. I found Liv curled up on her couch, watching Netflix. She looked up when I walked in. How did it go? Educational. I told her about the conversation while she made popcorn. When I got to Vance's comment about Kate choosing him, Liv snorted. Typical Kate, always looking for the next best thing. You really think she'd leave me for him? Liv paused the movie and turned to face me. Dan, can I ask you something? When was the last time Kate made you feel like you mattered? I opened my mouth to answer, then closed it. I couldn't remember. When was the last time she asked about your day, your dreams? When did she last laugh at your jokes or touch your hand just because she wanted to? Each question hit like a small punch to the chest. She's been taking you for granted for years, Liv continued. And now she's met someone who makes her feel exciting and important again. Of course, she's going to choose him. So what do I do? Liv moved closer on the couch. You remind her what she's losing. Before I could ask what she meant, her phone buzzed with a text. She glanced at it and frowned. It's Kate. She wants to know if I've seen you. What are you going to tell her? Liv looked at me with a mischievous smile. That depends. How committed are you to playing by the rules? I thought about Vance's smug face, about Kate's dismissive tone, about 15 years of being taken for granted. What did you have in mind? Instead of answering, Liv moved closer and took a selfie of us on the couch. Her head was on my shoulder, both of us smiling at the camera. Oops, she said, hitting send. Wrong person. My phone started ringing immediately. This time I answered on the first ring. Hello, Kate. Dan, what the hell is going on? Kate's voice was sharp enough to cut glass. I put the phone on speaker so Liv could hear. I'm watching a movie. What's wrong? Don't play games with me. Why are you at my sister's place? You kicked me out, remember? Liv was kind enough to offer her couch. For one night, maybe. But you've been there for 3 days. Have I? Time flies when you're enjoying good company. I could hear Kate breathing heavily on the other end. Dan, I want you to come home, right now. Can't do that, Kate. Vance might still be there. Vance left this morning. Did he? Or is he just hiding in the bedroom until I hang up? You're being ridiculous. Am I? Yesterday you told him I was trained, that you had me figured out. Today you're demanding I come running home like a good little husband. The silence stretched so long I thought she'd hung up. You heard that conversation? I heard enough. Dan, you don't understand. I was just what? Just talking about making permanent changes? Just discussing how you won't need to worry about me once your promotion comes through. Another long pause. We need to talk face to face. We're talking now. Not like this. Not with my sister listening to every word. I looked at Liv, who was trying not to laugh. Liv's not listening. She's busy making popcorn. Dan, please. I'm asking you nicely. Come home. And I'm telling you nicely. No. Fine. Then I'll come there. Kate, don't. The line went quiet. She'd hung up. Well, Liv said, settling back onto the couch with a bowl of popcorn. This should be interesting. 20 minutes later, someone started pounding on Liv's door. Not knocking, pounding. Olivia, open this door right now. Liv sighed and got up. Showtime. She opened the door to reveal Kate in full fury mode. Designer jeans, silk blouse, perfectly styled hair that probably cost more than most people's weekly groceries. She pushed past Liv without being invited in. Dan, we're leaving, now. I stayed seated on the couch. Hello to you too, Kate. Don't start with me. Get your things and let's go. I'm comfortable here, thanks. Kate looked around Liv's apartment like she was cataloging evidence. Her gaze lingered on the blanket and pillow on the couch, the coffee mug on the side table, the general signs of someone making himself at home. How long are you planning to stay here? As long as Liv will have me? That's not appropriate, Dan. You're a married man. Funny how you remember that when it suits you. Kate turned to her sister. Liv, can you give us some privacy? Actually, I can't. This is my apartment. Fine. Then Dan and I will talk in private somewhere else. No, I said. If you want to talk, we talk here, with Liv present. Kate's eyes flashed. Since when do you make demands? Since my wife started making decisions about our marriage without consulting me. You kicked me out of my own house, Kate. You made breakfast for another man in my kitchen. You talked about me like I was some pet you'd trained to perform tricks. So forgive me if I'm not jumping to attention when you snap your fingers. Kate's composure cracked slightly. Dan, I know you're hurt, but you're blowing this completely out of proportion. Am I? Then explain to me what Vance was doing in our house at 7 a.m. He came by to discuss business. In the kitchen? In his pajamas? He wasn't in pajamas. No, he was in my bathrobe. The color drained from Kate's face. How could you possibly know that? Because I came by to get some work clothes. I saw you making breakfast for him. Heard you talking about how well you had me trained. Kate sank into Liv's armchair like someone had cut her strings. Dan, it's not what you think. Then what is it? It's complicated. Complicated how? Kate looked at Liv, then back at me. Can we please discuss this at home? No, we discuss it here now, or not at all. Kate was quiet for a long moment, staring at her hands. When she finally spoke, her voice was smaller. Vance and I have been working together on a project. A big project that could change both our careers. What kind of project? He's launching a new company. a PR firm that specializes in tech startups. He wants me to be his partner. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. His partner. His business partner. And that requires him to spend the night at our house? He didn't spend the night. Kate. She looked up at me, and for the first time in years, I saw uncertainty in her eyes. He came by early to discuss the proposal. We've been working on it for weeks. Working on it where? At his office. At restaurants. Sometimes at our house when you were working late. How often? Dan, how often has he been in our house when I wasn't there? Kate's silence was answer enough. Liv spoke up from the kitchen. Kate, what are you doing? Stay out of this, Liv. No, I won't stay out of it. Dan is my friend, and you're treating him like garbage. This is between me and my husband? Is it? Because it sounds like it's between you, your husband, and Vance. Kate stood up abruptly. Dan, I'm going home. When you are ready to have an adult conversation without an audience, you know where to find me. She headed for the door, then stopped and turned back. And Dan, whatever you think is happening between me and Vance, you're wrong. I love you. I've always loved you. After she left, Liv and I sat in silence for several minutes. Do you believe her? Liv finally asked. About loving me? Maybe. About Vance? I shook my head. She's lying through her teeth? So what now? I thought about Kate's visit, about the desperation I'd heard in her voice when she said she loved me, about the way she'd looked when I mentioned seeing Vance in my bathrobe. Now I do some research. I spent the next hour on my laptop while Liv worked on a client project. I found Vance's business registration, his social media profiles, and most importantly, his pattern of failed partnerships. Look at this, I told Liv, turning the screen toward her. 3 previous business partners, all women, all in marketing or PR. Each partnership lasted about 2 years before dissolving in lawsuits. What kind of lawsuits? Breach of contract, misappropriation of funds, theft of client lists. The guy's a professional parasite. Liv leaned closer to read the screen. Does Kate know about this? I doubt it. She's too blinded by the opportunity to do her homework. Are you going to tell her? I closed the laptop and looked at Liv. She was wearing an old college sweatshirt and had her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She looked real, in a way Kate hadn't for years. No, I'm going to let her figure it out herself. That's cold, Dan. So is betraying your husband for a business opportunity. Liv studied my face. You've changed, you know. In just 3 days, you're different. Different how? Stronger, more confident. Like you remember who you used to be before Kate trained all the fight out of you. She was right. For the first time in years, I felt like myself again. My phone buzzed with a text from Kate. I'm sorry about tonight. Can we try again tomorrow? I showed the message to Liv. What are you going to say? I typed back, I'll think about it. Kate's response was immediate. What do you mean you'll think about it? I turned off my phone without answering. You're enjoying this, Liv observed. Maybe a little. Good. It's about time someone made Kate work for what she wants. That night, lying on Liv's couch, I stared at the ceiling and thought about my marriage. 15 years of compromise, of putting Kate's career first, of being the reliable husband who never caused problems. Tomorrow, Kate would expect me to come home and pretend everything was normal. She'd expect me to accept her story about Vance being just a business partner, to ignore the evidence of my own eyes and ears. For 15 years, that's exactly what I would have done, but not anymore. I woke up to my phone ringing. Kate again. Morning, I answered, not bothering to hide my irritation. Dan, we need to talk. Today. I'm working today. Then tonight. Please. I'll cook dinner. We can open that bottle of wine from our anniversary. The one you were drinking when you kicked me out? Silence. Then, I bought another one. Despite everything, I almost smiled. Kate was trying, which meant she was worried. Fine. 7 o'clock. Thank you, Dan. I promise we'll work this out. After I hung up, Liv emerged from her bedroom wearing a robe and looking concerned. You're really going back there? For dinner, not to stay. Dan, be careful. Kate's desperate, and desperate people do stupid things. I spent the day installing smart locks for a client in Cambridge, but my mind kept drifting to the evening ahead. Kate was planning something. The wine, the dinner, the sudden willingness to work things out. She'd had 3 days to strategize, and Kate was very good at strategy. At 6:30, I drove to the house I'd called home for 10 years. Kate's BMW was in the driveway, but no sign of the red Tesla. Good. She answered the door in the blue dress I bought her 2 years ago, her hair and makeup done like we were going to a fancy restaurant. Hi, she said softly. You look good. Thanks. The house smelled like garlic and herbs. Kate had made my favorite meal, chicken marsala with roasted vegetables, and set the table with candles. "You went to a lot of trouble," I said. "You're worth it." We ate in silence for a few minutes, and for a while it almost felt normal. She avoided mentioning Vance entirely. "I've missed this," she said. "Just the two of us, talking." "Have you?" "Of course. Dan, I know these past few weeks have been confusing, but I want you to know that you're the most important thing in my life." "More important than your career?" Kate hesitated. "My career matters, but not more than our marriage." "What about Vance?" Another hesitation. "What about him? Is he part of your career plans?" "Dan, he's offered me a business opportunity, a chance to be a partner instead of just an employee." "And that's worth risking our marriage?" "I'm not risking our marriage. I'm trying to build a future for both of us." I set my fork down. "A future that includes Vance spending nights here while I'm kicked out?" "He didn't spend the night." "Kate, I saw him in my bathrobe." "He spilled coffee. I offered him something clean to wear while his was in the wash." The lie was smooth, practiced, but I'd heard her talking to Vance about permanent changes and not needing to worry about me anymore. "So this is purely business?" "Absolutely." "Then you won't mind if I meet with him? Talk about this opportunity myself?" Kate's wine glass stopped halfway to her lips. "Why would you want to do that?" "If my wife is going into business with someone, I'd like to know what I'm dealing with." "Dan, that's not necessary. I can handle it." "I'm sure you can, but humor me." Kate took my hand. "Dan, I need you to trust me. Vance is offering me something I've worked for. A chance to be an owner, not just an employee." "With him?" "As his partner." "What kind of partner, Kate?" "Business partner." "And that's all?" "That's all." I looked into her eyes, searching for the woman I married. All I saw was calculation. "Okay," I said. "I believe you." Kate's face lit up. "Really?" "Really. And to prove it, I'll move back home tonight." "Dan, that's wonderful. I've missed you so much." "I've missed you too." We finished dinner with Kate talking about her business plans, how successful it would be, and how proud I'd be. I nodded, smiled, and played the supportive husband. Afterward, Kate suggested a movie. We settled on the couch, and she curled up against me like we used to. "This feels right," she murmured. "The two of us, together." "It does." "Dan?" "Yeah?" "I'm sorry about the past few weeks. I know I haven't been the best wife. We all make mistakes. I love you. I love you too." The lie came easier than I expected. Around 11, Kate went upstairs to get ready for bed. I stayed on the couch, finishing the movie, but really waiting. At 11:47, her phone buzzed on the coffee table, a message from Vance. "Coast clear, Dan back under control." I stared at the screen for a long moment, then deleted the message. At midnight, I went upstairs. Kate was pretending to sleep. I changed into pajamas, played the reconciled husband, and said, "Good night, Kate." "Good night, Dan. I'm so glad you're home." I lay in bed listening to her breathe, waiting until I was sure she was actually asleep. Then I got up quietly and went to my home office. I had work to do. I spent 2 hours researching Vance's business history, his financial records, his pattern of failed partnerships. By 2 a.m., I had a complete picture of exactly what Kate was getting herself into. Vance Archer was a con man, a sophisticated one, but still a con man. He seduced successful women, convinced them to invest their money and connections in his ventures, then disappeared when the businesses inevitably failed. Kate wasn't his partner. She was his mark. I could have woken her up right then, shown her the evidence, saved her from making a terrible mistake. Instead, I went back to bed. The next morning, Kate made breakfast and coffee like we were newlyweds. She kissed me goodbye when I left for work, told me she loved me, promised to cook dinner again that night. "I'm so happy we worked things out," she said. "Me too." I drove to my first appointment thinking about the text Vance had sent. "Dan back under control?" Like I was some problem that needed managing. At lunch, I called Liv. "How did it go last night?" "Exactly as expected. Kate's lying about everything, and Vance thinks I'm back under control." "Are you?" "Not even close." "So, what's the plan?" I looked out the window of the restaurant where I was eating, watching people hurry past on the sidewalk. Normal people living normal lives, not dealing with cheating wives and con artist boyfriends. "I'm going to give Kate exactly what she wants," I said. "Which is?" "A chance to choose between me and Vance." "Dan, that's dangerous. What if she chooses him?" "Then at least I'll know where I stand." That evening, Kate greeted me with another kiss, another home-cooked meal, another performance of being the perfect wife. Over dinner, I brought up Vance again. I've been thinking about what you said last night, about this business opportunity. Oh? I think you should go for it. Kate nearly choked on her wine. Really? Really. You're talented, ambitious. You deserve to be more than just someone's employee. Dan, that means so much to me. There's just one thing I'd like to ask. Anything. I'd like to meet with Vance one more time. Not to interfere, just to understand what you're getting into. Kate's fork paused halfway to her mouth. Why? Because if this venture fails, it affects both of us. I'd like to know what we're risking. We're not risking anything. This is my opportunity, my investment. Your investment of what? My time, my connections, my reputation. What about money? Kate looked down at her plate. Some money, yes. How much money? Dan, you said you trusted me. I do trust you. I don't trust him. Kate set down her fork. What's that supposed to mean? It means I did some research on your business partner. His track record isn't great. What kind of research? I pulled out my phone and showed her the articles I'd found. 3 failed businesses, 2 bankruptcies, multiple lawsuits from former partners. Kate barely glanced at the screen. Those are just business setbacks. Everyone in entrepreneurship faces challenges. Kate, look at the pattern. He targets successful women, convinces them to invest in his ventures, then disappears when things go bad. That's not what's happening here. Isn't it? Kate stood up abruptly. Dan, I thought we were past this. I thought you were going to support me. I am supporting you. I'm trying to protect you. From what? From making a mistake that could destroy your career. Kate laughed, but there was no humor in it. My career? Dan, my career has been stagnant for 5 years. This is my chance to finally break through. With a con man. He's not a con man. He's a visionary. He's using you, Kate. No, Dan. He's the first person in years who's seen my potential. The words hung in the air between us like smoke. And I don't? I asked quietly. Kate's face softened slightly. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? I meant that Vance understands my ambitions. He sees what I could become. What you could become, or what he could make you. Kate picked up her wine glass and finished it in one gulp. I'm going into business with Vance, Dan, with or without your blessing. And if I ask you not to, then you'd be asking me to give up the opportunity of a lifetime. For our marriage. Kate met my eyes. Some opportunities don't come twice. Neither do marriages. We stared at each other across the dinner table, and I saw the moment Kate made her choice. I'm sorry, Dan, but I'm doing this. I nodded slowly. Okay. Okay? Okay, I understand. Kate looked surprised. You do? I understand that you've made your decision, and now I get to make mine. I stood up from the table and headed for the stairs. Where are you going? To pack. Dan, wait. We can work this out. I stopped at the bottom of the stairs and looked back at her. No, Kate, we can't. You just chose Vance over our marriage. There's nothing left to work out. That's not what I did. Isn't it? Kate followed me upstairs, talking rapidly. Dan, please. You're misunderstanding everything. This doesn't have to affect our marriage. I pulled out my overnight bag and started packing. Of course it does. Why? Why can't I have both? I stopped packing and looked at her. Because Vance isn't offering you a business partnership, Kate. He's offering you a new life, and that life doesn't include me. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? Then call him. Right now. Tell him I want to be involved in this business venture as an investor. Kate's face went pale. Dan, that's not how it works. Why not? I'm your husband. If this is such a great opportunity, why wouldn't he want my investment too? Because it's not that kind of partnership. What kind of partnership is it, Kate? She didn't answer. I finished packing and headed for the door. That's what I thought. Dan, please don't leave. Not like this. I stopped in the doorway. Kate, I gave you 15 years of my life. I supported your career, your dreams, your ambitions. I never asked you to choose between me and anything else. I'm not asking you to. Yes, you are. You're asking me to stand by and watch while another man destroys your life. You're asking me to pretend I don't know what's really happening here. Nothing's happening. Then prove it. Call Vance. Tell him the deal's off. Kate's silence was answer enough. That's what I thought, I said again. I walked out of our bedroom, down the stairs, and out the front door. Kate followed me, still talking, still trying to explain, still lying. Dan, please, don't do this. Don't throw away 15 years over a misunderstanding. I put my bag in the truck and turned to face her one last time. I'm not throwing anything away, Kate. You already did that. I drove back to Liv's apartment through empty streets, thinking about the look on Kate's face when I'd asked her to call off the deal with Vance. Pure panic. She was in deeper than I'd thought. Liv was waiting up for me, curled on her couch with a cup of tea. How did it go? She chose him? I'm sorry, Dan. Don't be. At least now I know where I stand. I sat down next to her, suddenly exhausted. So what now? I thought about Kate's panic, about Vance's smug confidence, about 15 years of marriage ending over a con man's promises. Now I stopped trying to save her from herself. And I looked at Liv, who was watching me with concern and something else I was afraid to identify. And I figure out what comes next. 3 weeks later, I was installing a security system for a client in Back Bay when my phone rang. Kate's name on the screen. Dan, I need to see you. Her voice was different, smaller, scared. What's wrong? I can't talk about it over the phone. Can you come over? Kate, we've been through this. I'm not... Please, Dan. I think I made a mistake. I finished connecting the last camera and told my client I'd be back tomorrow to complete the setup. Kate was waiting on the front porch when I pulled into our driveway. She looked like she'd aged 5 years in 3 weeks. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, she wasn't wearing makeup, and her clothes looked like she'd slept in them. Thank you for coming, she said. What happened? Can we go inside? The house felt different, emptier somehow. Kate led me to the kitchen and poured 2 cups of coffee with shaking hands. Vance is gone, she said without preamble. Gone where? Just gone. He cleaned out the business account yesterday and disappeared. I sat down at the kitchen table, the same table where I'd heard her talking about having me trained, about making permanent changes. How much money? $40,000. I whistled low. Your money? Kate nodded, tears starting to form in her eyes. My savings, my retirement fund, everything I had liquid. Did you call the police? And tell them what? That my business partner took money from our joint account? It wasn't theft, Dan. I gave him access willingly. What about the business? The contracts, the clients? Kate laughed bitterly. There was no business. No real clients, no contracts. It was all just promises and projections. I sipped my coffee and studied my wife's face. She looked genuinely devastated, which meant she'd really believed Vance's lies. When did you figure it out? 2 days ago. I went to his office to discuss our marketing strategy, and the building manager told me he'd never paid rent. The whole office was a facade. Kate, I know what you're going to say, that you warned me, that I should have listened, that I'm an idiot. I wasn't going to say any of that. She looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. You weren't? No, I was going to ask if you're okay. The kindness in my voice seemed to break something in her. She started crying, really crying. Not the controlled tears she used when she wanted something. I'm such an idiot, Dan. You tried to tell me, and I wouldn't listen. I chose him over you, over our marriage, over everything that mattered. I handed her a tissue. Why didn't you listen? Because he made me feel special, important, like I was capable of more than just being someone's employee. And I didn't make you feel that way? Kate wiped her eyes. You made me feel safe, loved, but not ambitious, not like I could conquer the world. So you chose ambition over love. I chose what I thought was my future. And now? Kate looked around our kitchen, at the life we'd built together. Now I don't have either. We sat in silence for several minutes. I found myself studying Kate's face, looking for traces of the woman I'd married 15 years ago. She was still there, underneath the makeup and ambition and poor choices. Dan. Yeah? Is there any chance? Could we try again? I'd been expecting this question for 3 weeks. I'd rehearsed my answer, planned exactly what I'd say. I don't know. I understand that you're angry. I'm not angry, Kate. I'm tired. Tired? Tired of being taken for granted. Tired of being the backup plan when your first choice doesn't work out. Tired of being married to someone who sees me as safe and boring instead of as a partner. Kate reached across the table and took my hand. That's not how I see you. Isn't it? When was the last time you asked about my dreams, Kate? My goals? When did you last wonder what I wanted out of life? She opened her mouth to answer, then closed it. That's what I thought. Dan, I can change. I can be better. Can you? Or will you just be more careful about hiding it next time? There won't be a next time. You said that about working late with Vance. You said that about keeping secrets. You said that about a lot of things. Kate's tears started again. So that's it? 15 years of marriage and you're just going to throw it away? I'm not throwing anything away. I'm just not picking up the pieces anymore. I stood up to leave. Where are you going? Back to work. Dan, please, don't leave me like this. I stopped at the kitchen door. Kate, 3 weeks ago you told me that some opportunities don't come twice. You were right. What do you mean? I mean that you had the opportunity to choose our marriage over Vance, and you chose Vance. That opportunity doesn't come twice. But he's gone now. Doesn't that prove I made the wrong choice? No, Kate. It proves that he was using you. It doesn't prove that you wouldn't make the same choice again with someone else. I left her sitting at the kitchen table and drove back to my client's house. I had work to finish. That evening, Liv was waiting for me with takeout Chinese food and a bottle of wine. Rough day? Kate called. Vance cleaned out their business account and disappeared. Liv nearly choked on her lo mein. Seriously? $40,000. Wow. Did she ask you to come back? Of course. And I said no. Liv studied my face. How do you feel about that? Relieved, mostly. Relieved? For 3 weeks, I've been waiting for the other shoe to drop, wondering if Kate would realize she'd made a mistake, if she'd come crawling back, if I'd be strong enough to say no. And you were. And I was. Liv poured more wine for both of us. So what happens now? Now I file for divorce and try to figure out what the rest of my life looks like. Any ideas? I looked around Liv's apartment, at the art on her walls, at the comfortable furniture and warm lighting, at Liv herself, curled up on the couch in jeans and a sweater, looking at me like I was the most interesting person in the world. A few ideas. Care to share? Maybe later. We finished dinner and settled in to watch a movie. Halfway through, Liv curled up against my side. Dan? Yeah? I'm proud of you, for standing up to Kate, for refusing to be her safety net. Thanks. And Dan? Yeah? When you're ready to talk about those ideas for your future, I'm here. I looked down at her, at this woman who'd offered me shelter when I needed it, who'd listened without judgment, who'd never made me feel like a consolation prize. What if I'm ready now? Liv smiled and moved closer. Then we should probably turn off this movie. I reached for the remote, thinking about second chances and new beginnings, about the difference between being someone's backup plan and being someone's first choice. For the first time in months, the future looked interesting. My phone buzzed with another text from Kate. Please call me. We need to talk. I deleted the message without reading it to Liv. Some opportunities really don't come twice. Epilogue. 6 months later, I was putting the finishing touches on a smart home system for a client in Newton when my phone rang. Unknown number. Dan Foster. Mr. Foster, this is Detective Martinez with the Boston Police. We're investigating a fraud case involving Vance Archer. I understand you had some dealings with him. I smiled. I'd be happy to help with your investigation, Detective. It turned out Vance had run the same con on 3 other women in the Boston area. My research had provided crucial evidence for the case. Kate had lost her job at the PR firm after the scandal broke. Last I heard, she was working for a small marketing company in Worcester, making half her previous salary. She'd stopped calling after the first month. I finished the installation and drove home to Liv's apartment. Our apartment now. She was in her studio, working on a logo design for one of my clients. We'd started collaborating professionally as well as personally. How was your day? She asked, not looking up from her computer. Interesting. The police called about Vance. Oh? He's been arrested. Fraud charges. Liv saved her work and turned to face me. How do you feel about that? Like justice has been served. And Kate? I thought about my ex-wife, probably sitting in some small apartment, wondering how her life had gotten so far off track. I hope she learned something from all this. Do you miss her? I miss the woman I thought she was, but that woman never really existed. Liv stood up and wrapped her arms around me. Her loss? My gain. We kissed, and I thought about the strange turns life can take. 6 months ago, I'd been a man whose wife didn't respect him, whose marriage was built on habit rather than love. Now I was a man who was valued, appreciated, chosen first instead of settled for. Kate had been right about one thing. Some opportunities don't come twice. I was grateful I'd been smart enough to recognize mine when it came along.